I'm trying this new thing where I don't get worked up and upset about things that haven't happened yet.
I'm real ranty today. I'm really ranty.
No, I know.
I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm sorry. I am ranty today.
Is she a Russian spy?
If CapCut goes away, I will storm the Capitol myself.
If you want to feel some hope, read the comments on this Ben Shapiro thing.
I just realized your entire business model requires that us normal folk hate each other. Yes! Yes! And we're recording. We're on. We're on the air. Hello, everyone.
Wow.
Hi. Yeah, I know. We did it. Woo! Okay. Happy Friday. Another weekly recap coming your way. Packed episode. We're talking about the healthcare CEO shooter guy. What's his name? Luigi. We're talking about Rupert Murdoch is trying to change his family trust, and that has big implications for Fox News. We're talking about some also more maybe under the radar stories about drones in New Jersey and a woman who stowed away on a flight for free to Paris. So much to talk about. Good to be with you. I'm Tim Whitaker.
I'm April LaJoy.
Welcome to the recap. Here we go.
Woo!
Here we go. Oh my goodness. Another hi.
Another week.
But yeah, we can do it.
Lots
we
of
can do
news.
It. How was your week, April?
Oh, it was dandy.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, actually, no. I mean, actually, I don't really remember. It's been really busy. Like the holidays are coming up, and my kids have like all these different Christmas programs, and I've been busy, and I've been sick. I've been fighting this cold for like a month now, but it's not like bad enough to like where I feel like I need to go to the doctor because I can function, but it's just annoying because it just won't go away.
April, you've committed the cardinal sin.
What's that?
You've talked about having a sickness that won't go away.
I know.
And now you're going to get comments that are going to tell you how serious this sickness is. And you
know.
have to go to the doctor
true.
right away because that happened to them. And it turned out it was something catastrophic. So watch out. You're going to get medical advice.
I forgot.
What were you thinking? Telling people that.
I'm going to get diagnosed with some terrible disease from a comment.
And listen, I know people do it because they want to help. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but man, every time I'm like, yeah, I've had a cold for 3 days, or I've been getting sick so often lately because we have little kids. No. You could be compromised. You must go to the doctor. I'm like, I do appreciate your concern. I do. I'm just sharing part of my life. I'm not looking for unsolicited medical advice from someone who's not a medical professional, but I appreciate it. So
yes, good looking out. But I promise I'm fine. So just forget that I said anything. I'm doing great. The little raspiness you see is just me trying to be a little more sultry in life.
Right. Yes,
that's all.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, my week was good. Last night we had a kids' Christmas pajama party for like our friend group. They do this every year, but now there are 16 children, mostly under age 5. And so I'm not sure where you are in your circle of life and where you are with your friends, but I feel like for our friend group, it feels that almost overnight we just had all of these kids, and now all of these events are about little children running around and making a mess of everything. They're cute, and it was so much fun. They even did a little gift exchange. So like, so-and-so had so-and-so, and so a 4-year-old's like, Jessica, I got you this gift. And they're opening it up. It's really adorable for sure. But my gosh, there's so many. 16 children.
That is a lot of children under one roof.
Under one roof.
And like those ages, that's a rambunctious group of kids of ages.
Yeah, 100%. So anyway, that was my day. I it was fun. It was good. It was a little exhausting, but the good news is my kids slept really well that night because they were playing with their friends till like 9:00 at night.
Oh, yeah.
So that helped out. Yeah, no, I'm all about that. Do you want to get into a new segment? I don't have music for this yet. Just imagine the Jingle Bells theme playing. We are doing some new stuff as we think about 2025, and end of the year is here. As the new Evangelicals go, as far as the organization is concerned, we have a campaign we're calling, hold on, I have a graphic for it. Ho, ho, holy shit.
Woo!
Yeah, because I can't think of a better way to sum up this past year and this past election result, and we want to have some fun with it. So what I've been doing is, or you and I, April, I've been asking people, give me some cringe stories from the year. Give me some good cringe stories that we can read on air. I have 2 stories. Now, I gotta preface, I don't think this first one is from this year, but because this is a new segment, I'm kind of grandfathering in responses in general. So if you have a good story that maybe is slightly embarrassing or kind of cringy, you could click the link in the show notes or the description. There's a form, fill it out, send it in. If we think it's funny, we will share it. But for our first installment of Ho Ho Holy Shit, here's the story I have from someone. You ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay. Okay, here we go. About 15 years ago, so this is not 2024, I was going for a job as a youth pastor. After interviews with the senior pastor and then elders, my last step was preaching there so they could get a feel for my preaching style, so on and so forth. It also served as a day off for the regular staff because they brought in an outside band to play that Sunday. So I go that morning, and after a sound check, I realize I gotta poop. The band is doing... Yeah, it happens, man. Sunday mornings, it happens to people, okay? You got that coffee flowing inside of you, and now you got to poop. The band is doing their final run-through, so I've got some more time. I'm finishing up, and I flushed the toilet. It was one of those not really clogged, but also didn't fully go down. No worries. I've been in this situation before. I wait a minute, and I flush again. The band comes in, 4 to 5 dudes, plus me now in a bathroom with 2 toilets and 2 urinals. I'm getting nervous now, and so I gotta hope this works. I go to flush again, and it's official. It's backed up.
Oh, no.
I panic, close the lid, and leave the bathroom immediately. Yes, that means I didn't wash my hands. Like I said, I kind of panicked. I went the whole service without washing my hands after pooping, and the whole band knew it. P.S. 5 years later, the lead singer of the band was hired as our children's pastor. We never spoke of that moment.
Wow. I feel like we all have a moment like that at some point.
Well, I mean, I can get TMI on this, but I don't poop anywhere except for being at home.
Yeah, but sometimes you can't follow that rule.
That has happened one time. My mom, a couple of years ago, she made Thanksgiving turkey for all of us. There were 2 turkeys, like an organic turkey and like a regular turkey. I don't know why she wanted to do this. She's Italian. It is what it is. And we ate, and then at that point, I was working retail. I worked for Apple. And I'm working the next day, and I'm in the store. We're starting to close down, and something hits my stomach that to this day I have never felt before. I have never had the feeling that I had in that moment. And I knew that it was coming out one way or another, either right in my seat.
Oh, gosh.
It was one of those, like there was no dignity. I didn't care who heard me. And the back room of this Apple store, the bathroom was right up against where people take their breaks. So there's only a small wall dividing you. I did not care. I ran or waddled so fast because whatever was in that turkey, explosive. It's like that scene in Dumb and Dumber when they fill up his
I
cup
know
with
the
laxatives.
scene.
Yes. It is exactly. It was that moment for me. So, I bet.
Fun fact: for Christmas last year, I got a giant mini-size poster of that scene from Dumb and Dumber of Jeff Daniels on the toilet, and I gave it to my father-in-law for Christmas. It's framed, and he put it in his bathroom.
Wow. I
Great.
love that.
Also, I just love how fitting this little turd emoji graphic now is to that story. And I would just like to say, you do not have to submit poop or fart related stories. I told a fart story last week. We got a poop story this week. It does not have to be related to bowel movements in any way.
It doesn't have to be, but it's funnier if it is. It's funnier if it is. Yeah. I think it is.
It is funny. Yeah.
Okay. I have one more. Should I read one more? Okay.
Yeah.
One more. And again, friends, if you have a good cringe story that you want to send in, click the link in the show notes, submit your story. If we think it's good, we'll read it on the air. Here's another one that came in this week. Okay. For context, I have an issue with my jaw locking open. It's happened at the dentist, for example. When my mouth has been, hold on, I'm misreading this. Let me try this again. Okay, for context, I have an issue with my jaw locking open. It's happened at the dentist, and when my mouth has been held open for too wide, it locks up. And it requires someone to help readjust the joint back into place. So keep that in mind. One Sunday, I was sitting at church and discreetly yawned wide enough for my jaw to, you guessed it, lock open. So this person now has a jaw that will not close. It was nearing the end of the sermon, but it wasn't over quickly enough. I didn't want to leave as it's a small church and people would clearly see me walk down the aisle to the door with my mouth gaping open like some kind of horror movie creature. Drool began pooling in my mouth as I couldn't close it to prevent that from happening. I waited probably 5 or 10 minutes, though it felt like an eternity, and finally the pastor finished, and I got up to rush out the doors. I had to stuff my scarf into my mouth as I left to prevent drool from spilling all over the place. I tried not to make eye contact with people as I left, but I could tell I was getting some very confused looks. I got out of there fast and managed to click it back into place, but man, it was hard for me to face returning to that church after the fact.
Oh my gosh, that is a wild story for sure.
That's a wild
This
story.
kind of reminds me of, I know you're not on TikTok, but have you seen the King Pepe the Prawn memes trend on TikTok? And it's got the choir like a prayer song in the background. When you call my name, it's like a little prayer, like the choir version, and it's the awkward meme puppet. I think it's called Pepe the King Prawn is the meme. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Zero. Zilch. Nada.
Okay, did you see my Instagram post with the picture of the little meme guy?
Oh, yes.
It's that guy. There's a trend on TikTok. It is the funniest. It might be the funniest trend I've seen ever on TikTok. And, another thing in the news is that TikTok is looking like it still could be banned. It's another step closer to being banned, which I'm a little salty about because I love TikTok. Also, TikTok
wait,
is
it's
where
this
I
guy.
edit.
It's this guy. I just got it.
Yes.
This guy, right?
Yes.
The orange Muppet, Pepe
Prawn.
the King Prawn meme is for confessing your worst moments.
Listen, it is the funniest. Like, I could spend hours. I'll just go to the sound and read all of them. There's an olive oil story that, oh my gosh, there's just so many. Anyway, if you have some time and you just need a laugh and forget about the world, this trend
we need
on
more
TikTok
of that. We need so much
amazing.
humor.
Yeah, and honestly, TikTok, I have had frustrations with TikTok for just I've almost been banned on there for really stupid reasons before.
Same.
So they've got weird things going on that I haven't always been happy with, but I love their editing software. Like, I edit most of my videos within TikTok. And if that goes away, like, Instagram's editing software absolutely sucks. Like, I've tried it.
You got to use CapCut. It is pretty much TikTok's editing software as a standalone app.
No, I know, and I could use CapCut. But would they not? But CapCut is owned by TikTok.
Okay, if CapCut goes away, I will storm the Capitol myself. I will be a one-man storm the Capitol. You will not take CapCut away from me. It is the best video editor, period, for content creators because it's not super complicated. The pro version's like $8 a month. It's well worth it. It has everything that creators need to make great short-form content.
But it's basically the same software that's in the TikTok app, and you don't have to pay for it within TikTok.
Well, yeah, kind of. It's also more robust, but I digress. Yes, I agree though. Okay. It's based off of TikTok. I mean, it's the same company. They link to each other. And I swear to God, if these politicians, which by the way, John Oliver did a great story on the TikTok situation and showed how all of the concerns about data are equally shared or are equally what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, Google and Facebook also have the same privacy concerns. The only reason why they're targeting TikTok is because it's not an American corporate entity. That's the only reason.
Well, and it's
so frustrating.
Specifically China, which has been, I guess, somewhat hostile to the United States.
Somewhat. We're always feuding with China. I honestly, at this point, April, and this is going to be so ignorant of me, I fully admit, I don't know what I'm talking about here. I at this point, with how much propaganda our U.S. government throws at people, we're going to cover one of the stories in a minute that is proof of this. I don't know, if the war with China is a real threat and concern, or if we're just making this stuff up. I just don't know. I do not know. And I do know that Facebook and Google or Meta have an invested interest in getting the biggest competitor that shellacks them in views out of the U.S. They have a vested interest in that.
No, I know. I'm with you. And honestly, like I've heard what they say, like, well, China is getting all this information on United States citizens. Like they know what they want to buy and their likes and and I'm like, so what is the Chinese government going to do with the fact that I like King Pepe the King Prawn memes and that I've spent way too much time in like watching those. Like I literally I don't have anything to hide. What is China going to do with that information? And maybe that is naive and I'm sure maybe there's an actual security threat. I don't know. But I'm
I
suspicious of it.
I mean, I don't want to underplay the seriousness of like technology and how much it knows about us and how people get that information, how they harvest it for sure. At the same time, like if you think that banning TikTok is going to somehow solve privacy concerns, have you looked into
Yeah.
Meta, looked into Google? Like they are horrific in how they harvest your data and sell it to people, for free and make money
And
off of
Meta's
that.
got
So
more of a monopoly now because they've got Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.
and WhatsApp.
Oh, I didn't know they had
They
WhatsApp.
own WhatsApp. Yeah, they're huge. So anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, I we haven't done a lot of research on the story. I recommend people watching the John Oliver, like it was like a 30-minute monologue segment about the TikTok situation. It's really good. But yeah, I really don't trust our government. Period. I don't care who's running it when it comes to this kind of stuff because there's always what seems like to be ulterior motives. And the premise of privacy, again, if you really cared, then you would really start adopting. Europe has put some really good anti like or pro-privacy laws in place for companies, and we haven't adopted a lot of those yet. So if you really care about privacy and security of the citizens, you should be locking down Meta and Google as well with how much they can harvest from users. But I digress. So
And to be fair, we have not done a deep dive study on this, like you said, and we were not planning to talk about the TikTok ban. I just brought it up, so we didn't do our research.
yeah,
Um,
here's a good.
but I have personal reasons to be against the ban. So
Well, for sure. Have you seen this story flying around? So I'm actually, my state has made national news. Mystery
you.
drones are flying over New Jersey, and they have residents and officials, apparently they have officials puzzled. So here's the story behind this really quick. I have a little summary that I pulled thanks to the internet. So here's what's going on. Since mid-November, mysterious drones have been spotted flying at night across at least 10 counties in New Jersey, including over critical infrastructure like reservoirs, electrical lines, and military bases. The drones are larger than typical hobbyist models. Some say up to 6 feet. And they've sparked concerns among residents and officials. Despite the Federal Aviation Administration restricting drone flights over sensitive areas, sightings continue, leaving authorities puzzled about the source, operators, and the purpose of the drones. Governor Phil Murphy and federal officials, including the FBI, have reassured the public that there is no known threat, but the lack of transparency has fueled anxiety. Lawmakers like Senator Cory Booker and Representative Chris Smith are calling for more information, with Booker urging federal agencies to disclose relevant details to prevent misinformation and fear. Which, by the way, one of the pieces of misinformation was Fox News saying there is an Iranian mothership that is launching these drones over to the U.S. And the FBI is like, no, that's not true, just to be clear. So, Meanwhile, military officials have denied involvement, and the FBI's investigation has yet to determine if the drones are linked to an individual or a group. The incident echoes similar unexplained drone activity seen in other parts of the U.S., like Langley Air Force Base earlier this year. While some have suggested shooting down the drone, the federal law prohibits such action unless they pose an immediate threat. So, I mean, New Jersey does have a lot of gun owners now. I recommend not shooting down these drones. The mystery remains unsolved, with officials urging the public to report sightings to aid the investigation. This is a good example, though. And call me a conspiracy nut, okay? I fully admit I'm going to put the tinfoil hat on for a second. You're telling me.
Missed opportunity to say Tim foil hat.
April. Damn it, you're right. The tinfoil hat. You're telling me that the world's largest military, the FBI, the government, just has no clue, has not a clue about these mysterious drones that are flying over New Jersey, like all over the place and often? Come on. Come
Are they
on.
still going on?
Yes. Yeah, it's still happening. It's
Is it
making
mainly
national
at
news.
night?
mainly at night. Well, apparently, mainly at night. The Pentagon says we have no information. We know nothing about it. But again, the Pentagon doesn't. We can fly little micro drones across the world to assassinate people in their homes, and we don't know about 6-foot wide drones flying over our own territory.
Yeah,
Come on.
suspicious. Are we sure they're drones and not like a UFO?
I mean, they're calling them drones, so I'm just kind of rolling with it.
Maybe it's an alien drone because
maybe.
because of the little orbs that they found in the ocean. Maybe it's related. Maybe we're about to be taken over by aliens.
Maybe. I just thought that was an interesting story of like, again, it's one of those things where, and I maybe there's kind of a horseshoe effect here, right? Because we always talk about how people can be conspiratorial. And I don't want to be like, guys, like, listen, no, there's something nefarious going on here. I just find it very bizarre that our government is like, no, guys, we have no clue.
Yeah, that is odd.
Just not a clue. You are joking. You are kidding me. The CIA can spy on millions of people's phones at one time. Like, they have that technology. They found the CEO healthcare shooter in like 4.5 days out of 300 million people. And you can't figure out what's going on with these drones and who they... No, something else is going on, in my opinion.
Yeah. That is interesting. I have not heard that story, but congrats, New Jersey. Is it only New Jersey, or is it going to any other states?
I think right now it's mostly New Jersey. People are freaked out. A lot of like the local town Facebook groups are like, I just saw a drone. What do I do? My sister called me last night. Are we being invaded? I'm like, no, we're not being invaded. Like, that's not what's going on.
It's probably, watch it just be like a bunch of random like teenagers or like college kids that are like, let's just freak everybody out.
I mean, that's my guess. There's no way it's a foreign government. There's no way. I mean, our government would be all over this. I don't think it's that. I think
it's just 6 feet wide.
That's what some people said, up to 6 feet wide. So they're like
That's
industrial.
Huge drone.
Yeah, they're big boys. So.
Yeah.
I'm
surprised. You would think the government, though, if they don't know what it is, would shoot one of them down or fly up there to get a closer look.
I'm sure they have technology that we're not aware of, and they have information on this. I'm absolutely certain. And by the way, we know this because if you ever watch those like murder documentaries, after the story is over, the police will tell you, yeah, we had information for like 6 months that we didn't release for this specific reason. So they always have more info than they tell you. You know, it's not like uncommon knowledge. So I thought that was an interesting story, and I thought this other story for the week was also interesting. A lady stowed away on a flight to Paris, leaving from New York. She literally got past security and stowed away on a flight. Here's the story, okay? Her name, they're calling her Dolly. She managed to board Delta Flight 264 from New York to Paris on November 26th without a ticket or a boarding pass. Could you imagine this? After being turned away at... here's how she did it, apparently. After being turned away at a TSA checkpoint at JFK Airport, she re-entered through a lane designated for airline employees and bypassed Delta agents distracted by assisting ticketed passengers. First off, the guts that this lady has to just go through the employee-only area of TSA with no ticket. And by the way, she had her bag scanned by TSA. They confiscated water bottles. Oh. Hi, Harper. My child just entered the frame.
Oh, hello, child.
Yeah. Hold on one sec. Well, luckily we have a person taking notes and time-stamping things, so we'll just have that. A little magic. It'd be kind of fun to keep a little bit of that in, but not much. So, okay, I'm back. Whew. All right, family stuff. So, where was I? Oh, yeah. So TSA screened her bag. They confiscated 2 water bottles, but not her. Like, she had no boarding pass. And then, as they're scanning, because April, you've flown before. I fly all the time. You have to scan your boarding pass in front of like the gate agent, and it goes beep.
Yeah.
And then you get in. How do you sneak past that? How do other passengers?
How did she?
It just says, according to this article, it says that she bypassed Delta agents distracted by assisting ticketed passengers, and then once on board. Once on board, she attempted to evade detection by repeatedly moving between the plane's bathrooms. So she didn't have a seat. She was just
Yeah.
hiding in the bathroom, and the crew only became fully aware of her presence during the flight, but passengers were not informed until landing at the airport in Paris, I can't pronounce it, when the captain announced a, quote, serious security issue. And then French police detained her upon arrival and determining that she was ineligible to enter the country and arranged for her to return to the U.S. So, I mean, that is like a movie moment.
Do we know her motive? Why, like,
No.
was she specifically trying to get to Paris, or was that just like the flight that she saw distractions and was like, I'm getting on this one?
All I know so far is that she was arraigned in New York, and she's a permanent U.S. resident and also a Russian national, and she's charged with one count of being a stowaway on a vessel or aircraft without consent.
Wait, she's a Russian national?
National and a U.S. permanent resident. That's her face. I mean, she doesn't look very happy.
Is she a Russian spy?
I don't know. More conspiracies.
Did you ever watch The Americans?
I did. I started it. It was really good. I should get back into that show.
Good.
That's a good show.
That's an excellent show. But
No,
now
it is.
I'm just hyper aware, like Russian spies, because they were a much bigger deal back in the day than they are. But I'm sure they still exist. They might even be nominated in our current cabinet or the new one coming in.
Yeah, seriously. Also, on a separate entertainment note, Severance 2 comes out soon, like season 2.
Oh, I did love Severance.
I am so ready for season 2. The cliffhanger was huge. So, yeah. So this all is happening this week, and then I have one more short story. Then we'll get into kind of our main story today.
Okay.
I debated a Christian nationalist this week.
Oh my goodness.
Someone
was that fun?
Well, how do I say this politely? This person did not know what they were talking about. And I was invited to join the conversation on someone's podcast. This person was friendly, like he was nice, but a very classic example of your brain on evangelical fundamentalism, along with white Christian nationalist politics. And during the debate, I got him to say something that many of us know about in Christian nationalism, but hearing someone say it out loud this bluntly, I think is shocking. I'm going to play the clip.
This guy is an open Christian nationalist.
Yes. The thesis of the debate was, does Christian nationalism benefit society? What I will do is I will put a link to the full debate in the show notes and the description if people want to watch it. About an hour and a half. Honestly, it was well, I'll let the audience determine what.
Well,
what
let me just say too, if it's the clip that I saw you post already, trigger warning.
Yes.
It's a little hateful rhetoric.
Yes. No, yes, absolutely. Trigger warning right now. There's some hateful rhetoric here, but I mean, he wanted to debate me, and I got him to say it. So here's what he said. Here we go.
Can a Christian nation be a place where slavery is legalized?
There would have to be a lot of further definition of what slavery is, but yes.
Okay, and just last follow-up question, I'll stop. Can a Christian nation be a place where LGBTQ people are allowed to live and flourish?
I will, no.
Okay, thank you.
No, the answer is no.
It gets worse.
They wouldn't be criminally penalized necessarily, but I do think there is sufficient biblical warrant for homosexuals to be severely punished for their disordered actions. And my personal position would be, I would love to see a nation where they go back in the closet where they belong.
Ew.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, all he did, though, was say the quiet part out loud. That's all he did. Many people in the Christian nationalist position believe this. They might not say it as bluntly or boldly, but they want a society where no one knows about queer people, where they just don't really exist, where it's not out in the open, where they don't have any kind of recognition. That's the society that many of them want. And getting him to say the quiet part out loud, that he would much rather have a nation that's Christian with slavery defined and regulated than he would having a Christian nation where queer people are allowed to live and flourish, again, should tell you all you need to know.
That is absolutely insane. You're like, could slavery be in a Christian nation? And he literally has to think about it. It's like, well, it depends on the definition. Like, well, could queer people live in a Christian nation? No.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Like, that is insane. I mean, here's the thing though. When I was in that world, like we fought against gay marriage, like before it was legalized. Like we did not want gay people to be able to marry and wanted them to basically be in the closet, just like he said.
Yes.
I mean, that's
yes.
not the focus now is more on trans people, but that they're not going to stop there. They're going to go after gay marriage next. I mean, Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court's already said he wants to
Yeah.
revisit federal, like the legalization of gay marriage.
I know there are people out there, because I've heard them in the comments, be like, oh, this is just some random dude. Like, of course you would pull this clip. This is echoed by people like Doug Wilson. Doug Wilson has blogs on this saying that slavery is way less egregious than homosexual behavior. And I think one of the things that I get so exhausted of hearing from people who consistently have their head buried in the sand is their excuses for when people say this kind of stuff. Instead of saying, wow, there's someone in our society who's a Christian who also believes this, that's problematic. We should examine what's underneath the hood of this ideology. Instead of that, we get, well, he's fringe. Like, no one really believes that. Have you been to America Fest? Have you been to Turning Point USA events like I have? Have you seen Doug Wilson speak? Because he does. These people are not that far from the mainstream evangelical right-wing world at all. In many cases, they're influencing it.
And look at Pete Hegseth, who's influenced by Doug Wilson, who's been nominated as defense secretary in Trump's cabinet. Like, people do not realize, and I don't like to fearmonger, because we've got a lot of anxiety coming up in the next 4 years, because, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, really.
Yeah.
But it could, if they get what they want, the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, like, it is scary how close this ideology is to power. And a lot of it has power. We have to just hope that there's enough checks and balances. And I think that there are, to save us for a little bit longer. But I agree with you. Like, I've literally talked about Christian nationalist men like Joel Webbin, and like that literally talk openly about wanting to repeal the 19th Amendment and take the women's right away to vote.
They're telling you what they want to do.
Yeah, I've made videos about that where I play a clip of Joel Webbin saying that he wants to repeal the 19th Amendment. And like the comments are literally condemning me. It's like, oh, you're just making Christians look bad. I'm like, no, go after the guy that wants to take women's rights away. And he's not a one-off. Like it is a growing movement within American evangelicalism, and all the people that are like, oh, it's just fringe, like da-da-da. Like, they're in your church. It may not be you, but they are in your church and they feel comfortable in your church, and you should have a problem with that, not with me.
Jason Whitlock said that exact same thing literally at Turning Point USA. At the event last year. I have it actually right here. I wonder if I can play it, because I think I have it saved. Of what he says. Yeah, this is it. I think this is the clip. Yeah, I'm going to play it here. I'm just going to play it. Why not? I want people to hear, because I agree, April. Oh, this is fringe. Oh, no one believes this. This man is speaking at Turning Point USA's America Fest a year ago in front of 14,000 people. Turning Point USA is arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, grassroots right-wing organizations in America. This man, Jason Whitlock, was platformed on the stage in front of 14,000 people. Here's what he said. I hope this is the right clip. If not, I'm gonna look like a big fool. But here we go.
Sexism, and we didn't have the right to vote until Susan B. Anthony and the women's suffrage movement. And I will defend life before suffrage, because a vote used to represent the family. When we were a culture that really valued family and really understood the natural order that God intended, man serving God, woman following man who serves God, man and woman developing and nurturing children. You only needed one vote per household, because that vote was about the entire family, as they have destroyed our family structure and made.
There you go.
Now everybody has to have a vote.
Oh, right
so gross.
And everybody has an agenda that a lot of times has nothing to do with family. The risk and the sacrifice.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Yeah, there you go. That's the clip I pulled a year ago. I found it on my hard drive. But yeah, I mean, again, like this is not fringe. We have to stop pretending that in right wing evangelicalism or in Christian nationalism, these are fringe views. These are promoted views, and someone cheered for that. Someone cheered for someone saying, "I will defend life before suffrage because the vote used to mean something."
Yeah.
And I wonder, April. I wonder, and we didn't really plan on going here, but we have a minute. I wonder if the reason why people are able to dismiss what they hear in front of them is because of how effective the evangelical world is of we're always on the right side and it's never as bad as you think internally, right? People are never that crazy inside the church. Maybe they're a little weird, but they're not crazy. But the world, they're full of crazy people. So I just wonder if like years and years of that kind of talk does something to your brain where you're able to hear someone tell you into a camera, I want to repeal the 19th Amendment. And we go, oh, he doesn't really mean that though. He doesn't really mean that. It's like, what do you mean? Like he's telling you what he wants to do. Are we shocked? Obergefell is absolutely on the table. Ali Sucky has said it. Justices have said it. That is absolutely the next target for them, 100%. Michael Knowles said we have to, quote, eradicate transgenderism. They're telling you what they want to do. And it is so frustrating to hear, in particular, these white moderate types, the ones who, oh, well, both sides, the extreme left and the extreme right. Who?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? You're playing the middle ground, and because of that, you let actual extremism like this go completely, unfettered, and you write it off as fringe or kooky. Meanwhile, Trump is positioning himself with cabinet picks who embrace some of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Well, it's all interconnected. It's been in the plans for decades. And when you're in evangelical culture, you are taught from being just as part of the world to listen to your authority, listen to your spiritual authority. Right. You're even taught, like even in more egalitarian, like I went to mostly more egalitarian churches that were believed women could preach and, that they could do. Like I felt very empowered by my own dad, but even in those circles, it was still the woman submits to her husband. Like the husband's still the ultimate head. Like even in like more egalitarian circumstances, like that's still there. And so when you are already conditioned to believe that women are the weaker vessel, like even though I felt empowered to do that, to be that I could do whatever I wanted, even though I was a woman, I was still regularly told, but you're still the weaker vessel, according to the Bible. Right. And so it's not hard to think like, well, that's God's order. And, I'm submitting to my husband at home. So then we submit to the pastor at the church. And then we submit to like just the sidestep to go from a more authoritarian structure within the church where the pastor has the final say. Right. And you don't question the pastor because he's God's authority. You touch God's anointed, you defend the pastor no matter what. And then you just sidestep into doing that with the president. And that you do whatever he says, and then you're just conditioned that it's okay, and then also you just don't care about queer people because you don't know any queer people because your whole world is an echo chamber. So when you're hearing things of like eradicating transgenderism or overturning gay marriage, like it's not affecting you. So you don't feel like you need to say anything. It's like, well, it is a sin because that's what you're taught. But the problem is like you don't realize you stay silent for so long and demonize entire groups of people. And then one day you wake up and realize you're next. Right. And it's too late at that point.
Yeah, I agree. No, I'm on the same page. Do you want to get into our main story today?
Sure. So
let's talk about it.
Yeah. So this is actually potentially could be really good news.
Oh, we're going to that story, the Fox News story?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. What were you talking about? Which one was our main story?
Well, I guess they're kind of co-main stories. The healthcare shooter was identified allegedly and picked up in that whole conversation.
Oh, yeah. We can go there if you want. We can save Fox News for later.
All right. Yeah, let's do that. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, cool. Well, with that segue in place,
So well done.
So we found someone allegedly who is responsible for shooting Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO. Luigi Mangione was charged with murder, and according to this headline by Reuters, then donations started pouring in. So look, I'm not going to recap the whole story. If you live anywhere right now, mainly, especially in the U.S., you know what's going on. Brian Thompson, United Healthcare CEO, was gunned down really in cold blood by someone. There were bullet casings found that said deny, depose, and defend. And it's a whole, we had a lot of suspicions, right, April last week of like, this sounds like it's motivated by the unethical and, I would argue, murderous healthcare insurance system that we all currently live under.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out, based so far on what we know, that seems to be the case. They found a manifesto. I'm not going to read it here, but his manifesto was very much a, these parasites need to be dealt with. I'm sorry I got to this point, etc. I read some articles that he might have had chronic back pain that kind of played into this. But the angle I want to talk about, April, for this is, what is the Christian response to this whole situation, right? Because on one hand, we have someone who was shot point blank in the back. He has kids. Those kids no longer have a dad. And on the other hand, the system that this man represented, Brian Thompson, kills people all the time. Like it denies healthcare claims all the time. It puts people in medical debt all the time. Since this story has broken, there have been stories emerging from social media all over the place about how predatory these health insurance companies are. In some cases, charging people up to $13,000 a month out of pocket to get leukemia medicine and help for their leukemia. So I think that this opens up a broader conversation. I'm kind of wondering, as Christians who believe in non-dehumanization, what is the both and approach we have to have with this? Because I don't really believe in celebrating this dude. I get the memes. I understand. I'm sure you've seen the big viral meme of like, oh yeah, Luigi was with me on this date. If anyone says otherwise, and I get it, right? Because this has been really a bipartisan grassroots agreement between left-wing and right-wing politics of, yeah, like this system sucks. It is horrible. And so I understand where it comes from, but as a Christian, I don't feel like we should be participating in the celebration of anyone getting murdered. Just like how I don't celebrate United Healthcare making billions of dollars in profit on the backs of people that they deny claims to, I don't want to celebrate this man being gunned down in the street. But I'm kind of curious your thoughts on it.
I've had really conflicting feelings about it, because just like you said, on the one hand, murder in cold blood in broad daylight, I'm against that, generally speaking, but
right.
But like when the man that was killed is responsible for so many hundreds of thousands of deaths, like it's not in cold blood, so it doesn't feel as bad. But those people still died because of a system that CEO helped create and helped deny claims. And I think healthcare should be a right that we have in America. Like, we have one of the worst healthcare systems in the world. Like the fact that we could be such a wealthy nation that does not provide basic healthcare to her citizens is terrible. And regardless of where you are politically, on the right or the left, you have probably been negatively impacted by our healthcare system.
100%.
And so I don't know, like Beecher and I were talking, I was like, would you have snitched? Because, a McDonald's employee called it in, which granted, they said that it was like $50,000 or $60,000 reward, I think. So on that hand, I'm like, I understand wanting to get that money. I don't know if he's actually going to get that money, or whoever it was that called in. But I've kind of landed on that. I probably wouldn't have harbored him. I wouldn't have been like, hey, I will shelter you. But I would not have snitched either. I would have been just like, I didn't see anything.
Did you see that the McDonald's got bombed with negative reviews? Quote, full of rats, untrustworthy staff, nobody stays in their lane. And again, like, as an organization that values non-dehumanization, I even feel like, what level can I even chuckle at some of the memes that have come out about this, right? At the same time, what we're seeing is vigilante justice. We're seeing someone who is so fed up with the system that we do know, by the way, is killing people. Like, there's data on this and sucks up billions of dollars. And our system, really, empire, is designed to convince us that those deaths that happen at the hands of these companies that deny claims is somehow just how the system works, and we should accept that. But this man who was shot to death, this is like the craziest story ever. And to be clear, I think that human life should be equally valued no matter your sociological location, for sure. But it is interesting that none of us have the same kind of outrage, thanks to what the media is doing with the story, about the dozens and hundreds and thousands of cases of people who have maybe terminal illnesses, or maybe they turn terminal because they can't get the access to care that they need. Meanwhile, CEOs like Brian Thompson are putting in systems that are denying claims like crazy. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw the story. One of the big things about, and this happened, by the way, before the shooting. This was an actual lawsuit. So essentially what's going on is, one of the criticisms of United Healthcare that has garnered attention, this is from Newsweek, it involves a lawsuit alleging the company uses artificial intelligence, AI, to deny coverage to some elderly patients who are on a Medicare Advantage plan. And the algorithm, according to the lawsuit, has a 90% error rate. It was denying claims at a rate of up to 90% because they instituted this AI system. And this was something that, like, to my knowledge, Thompson was celebrating, of like, we implemented this AI system. So I don't know, maybe like the justice-oriented values person absolutely is not a believer in killing people in the streets in cold blood. I also wonder, what's the system that we've created that has pushed people to that place, because we can't get affordable healthcare done in this country, right? I mean, it is absolutely criminal. It is evil, the level of care denying nonsense that a lot of medical providers have to deal with. I know that a lot of doctors hate the healthcare system. They hate the insurances. They deny, they have to fight to get pennies on the dollar. I get that. We have to start by looking at these insurance companies and saying no more. There has to be a grassroots uprising, populist movement that says both the Democrats and Republicans in different ways have maintained this system, and it's not working for anyone except for them and their billionaire shareholders. And it needs to change, especially as a Christian. James 5 is a complete scathing rebuke of rich oppressors who suck up wealth from their working class. There has to be a Jesus-centered ethic here that teaches us that we do not kill people in the streets. And also, what are the conditions that create the desperation of people to do this?
Right. I think it's, you can disagree with the how while understanding the why.
Yeah.
And I mean, but like, because a death by a gun feels so violent versus a death by denying insurance claims and denying your health care, but those are still deaths. And one man is responsible for way more deaths.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Well,
I don't know. Like, I mean, I obviously don't condone that. That's not the way I would go about it. But at a certain point, how do you, like, nothing's changed in years, and even if people do get the healthcare that they need to live, like some of these are life-saving surgeries, maybe they do get approved, but then the thousands and thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars that they owe in medical debt to save their lives is like another slow death, because now they can't live because they're under the pressure, so much economic pressure that they can't even afford to live.
100%. I have a graph up here that I just threw up. This is from Value Penguin. It is a claim denial rates by insurance company. The highest on this graph is United Healthcare, 32% claim denial rate. 1 out of 3 almost 3 get denied. I mean,
Yeah,
how?
that's not
And
that's
their
awful.
profits $9 billion. Okay, these people are not profiting like, oh, hey, we made $100,000 last year. They're profiting billions a quarter. Profit. That's after you paid your claims, after you paid your expenses, after you paid your employees. You're sucking up billions of dollars just for the sake of the company because you have shareholders. And by the way, maybe one of the saddest parts of this whole story is that the shareholder meeting that Brian Thompson was going to still happened. They literally, well,
Wow.
not literally, they metaphorically walked over his dead body to give their earnings report to their shareholders. If that is not a sense of poetic justice of what matters to these corporations, they do not care about people. No one in the health insurance space is in it to help people. They're in it to make money. They're in it to make money. And it
And I think,
violates the call of Christ to heal the sick, not profit off of them.
yeah, I think if there's a positive from this whole
Please, April, by all
story,
means. Yes, go ahead.
it's the way it has kind of united the right and the left. I mean, truly, like there's this. I mean, it was not on my bingo card that this would be something that unites both sides, but it's kind of made me think some things too, that I have more in common
Yes.
with my Trump supporting neighbors who are like in the same economic place that I am at than either of us do with Donald Trump, or even like Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. Like, I have more in common with people who completely vote differently than me, but are in my economic class than I do with, the quote unquote elites.
100%. Let's just start here for a second. So Ben Shapiro, he goes on YouTube when Brian Thompson was murdered, and makes a video called "The Evil Revolutionary Left Cheers Murder." And this man, and they hid the dislikes, but you can find them online, got ratioed so hard. His comments, oh my God, one of my favorites right here. I just realized your entire business model requires that us normal folk hate each other. Yes. Yes. April, what makes me so angry is that Trump and his billionaire cronies have convinced poor working class people and middle class people that somehow the immigrant is their enemy, or the transgender person is their enemy. No, it's not. That's not your enemy. Elon Musk is your enemy. Elon Musk, the person that's running the made up, Department of Government Efficiency,
Doge.
something like that. Yeah. Talk about putting the fox in the hen house.
Yeah.
Literally, you put the world's richest man in charge of waste and efficiency. His whole world revolves around excess. That's what his whole world is.
Several of Donald Trump's cabinet picks are billionaires.
Yeah, several. These people are not for you. Like, I really mean this. Like, to the moderate, maybe you voted for Trump, these people do not care about you. They don't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the Democratic establishment elite types who are also bought out by corporate donors care about you either. That isn't my point here. I'm just saying that Trump's campaign ran on this, like, I'm for the people, I care about the people, I care about the little guy. He does not. His cabinet picks are full of billionaires. Billionaires get to billionaire status not because they're generous and they care about other people, but because they're greedy and they want to hoard wealth at the expense of their neighbors. Do not think for a second that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, two billionaires, really give a flying crap about how much money you're making at your job. They do not, because the less you make at your job, the more money the corporation you work for makes, which makes people like Elon and Vivek very, very rich.
I know.
Like,
and just look at what they've been talking about, what they mainly want to do within those first, like the thing that I'm seeing Donald Trump and that whole group talk about what they want to do in the first 100 days is extend the tax cuts to the rich and corporations that do not benefit your average American at all. Like, and the way that they're going to make those cuts to pay for those tax cuts, they're talking about cutting the VA, Social Security, things that actually benefit like lower and middle class people
100%.
and going after unions. Like Trump, you know, and who knows what Trump's actually going to do, because he says a lot of things and doesn't do a good chunk of what he says, and flip-flops and says he lies all the time. So who really knows? I'm trying this new thing where I don't get worked up and upset about things that haven't happened yet because, you know, who has the energy for that? So I'm trying to wait and see what he actually does. But it does look like he's going to make policies and do things that benefit him and all of his other wealthy, rich people. And he doesn't care about us.
No.
I mean, you could say that for a lot of Democrats too. Like they everyone has their own interests. And when you're at a certain level, you know, you're not thinking about your average person. But generally speaking, Democratic policies do benefit
for sure
more Americans than Republican policies.
I mean, they ran on a very pro-union. I was at the DNC. Unions were all over the place, and because unions fight for the working class. Yeah. Usually. They can get corrupt like anything, but the goal of a union is to get people more wages, right? And I just think that I think that the people who voted for Trump are really in for a rude awakening when they realize that Trump, shocker alert, has staffed the White House with people that he likes who are loyal to him, who have an incentive to continue to create a lot of wealth, and that he wants to favor billionaires over workers. They're going to feel that. I feel that. We're going to feel that result. It's just a matter of time because our whole system is built on this billionaire class making money off of how the stock market is doing or how the economy is doing or how little they can pay their employees. So that way their corporations get more and more profits. So their shareholders are happy. So their shares go up. And then they do a stock buyback program. I cannot express enough to people like how sold out we are to an oligarchic administration. That's what this is. That's what this is.
No, I know. I will say though, some more of these comments on Ben Shapiro's YouTube.
I got 'em. Yeah. Back to that.
Yeah. To claim it's just the American left that's been cheering this on social media is delusional. Someone said, I don't know why you're trying to keep pushing this as a left issue. It's clearly across the board.
This one?
I saw, let's see. Da-da-da.
Is that the one?
Sorry, Ben, lifelong conservative. He agrees. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. I saw a comment somewhere. I don't think I have a screenshot of it, but they said, like, Ben's trying to convince us that it's right versus left, but really it's up versus down.
Yes, exactly. And what? Okay, there's a reason why billionaires fund right-wing media ecosystems. Because what right-wing media is so good at doing is convincing their listeners, most of which probably are middle or lower class. And by the way, I'm middle and like / lower class given any given day. So I'm in the same bucket. They convince those people that the biggest threat is the person beneath them. It is the queer person trying to gain equity. It is the immigrant trying to get here to seek asylum or just to find a better way of living. It is someone who is not them who's beneath them. It is never the billionaire. It's never the corporation. It's not the people who know how to rig the system in their benefit and have the equity and power to do that, right? It's not Brian Thompson because the evil left celebrates murder. No. It is literally for you the drag queen story hour 1,000 miles away from your house that is the biggest threat to your way of living. And they convince people of this over and over and over again, and it works. These grievance politics works. And I think what the left has to do is obviously we keep talking about systemic racism. We talk about all the things, and we also build a new working class that says, as far as economic status goes, we are in the same boat. I mean, this is kind of like MLK's Poor People's Campaign. He recognized that class can be a more powerful uniter than anything else. When we both look and we go, wait, you're getting screwed over by your healthcare system too? Wait, your premiums were through the roof too? Wait, I'm sorry. Your premium went up and you got denied coverage like me? Well, I don't care at this point what you think about on this other topic. We can work on this common good together.
Right. Another comment here says they started a culture war, so we forget about the class war.
Boom.
Print that shit. Honestly, if you want to feel some hope, read the comments on this Ben Shapiro thing, because it is left wing and right wing people literally being so kind to each other and just roasting Ben Shapiro.
I love it. As they freaking should, because that person's totally right. The manufactured culture war of the 80s, satanic panic, the gays are going to take over everything, watch out for the liberals. It is manufactured to maintain power control of the right-wing evangelical movement that is funded by billionaires. The book by Kevin M. Cruz, One Nation Under God, is a great story of how corporate America got in bed with Christianity, and it leads to where we are now. So I really hope, especially going into this year and beyond, we see more and more class struggles being recognized that kind of bridge some of these culture war gaps that have been created by right-wing media to then create a new underground, almost populist movement of we demand affordable healthcare in this country. We demand affordable education in this country. We demand that the American dream actually cashes the check, meaning when I was told if you can work hard, you'll make it, I want America to make good on that. If I'm working 40 hours a week full time, I want to be able to provide a roof over my head, food for my family, insurance for my family, and clothes, and maybe have some money away from savings. That's not an unrealistic ask in the country that has the most billionaires, that is the world's richest country. It's not an unfair ask at all. So I really hope that we see a huge resurgence of that kind of working class sentiment of saying, hey, I get we voted differently and we have serious disagreements, but we need economic opportunity for all of our neighbors first and foremost. I'm real ranty today. I'm really ranty.
No, I know.
I've been thinking
I will
about this
say,
for a while. I'm sorry. I'm ranty today.
There's statistic from...
My bad.
Statista for the wealth distribution in the United States in 2024. In the first quarter of 2024, almost 2/3% of total wealth in the United States was owned by the top 10% of earners. So 10% of Americans own about 66% of all of the wealth. In comparison, the lowest 50% of earners only owned 2.5% of the total wealth.
It's criminal. It's criminal. And can we also say that when your wages are that low, every dollar really counts, right?
Yeah.
Once you hit over a certain threshold, whatever it might be, based on your area of living, in New Jersey, if I was making, which I'm not, like $200,000, anything over that, it's pretty inconsequential as far as my standard of living goes. I just keep adding more and more luxuries at that point. But when you're making $35,000, $40,000 a year, $10 is a huge swing. $100 emergency expense is a huge swing. So it's not even just a matter of they're earning more. It's what it takes to live in the country just to survive, and how so many people are below that or right on that line where one little one little nudge left or right for their finances is a catastrophic hit. People in the upper class don't have that kind of problem.
Yeah.
So it is really the economic anxiety, the financial anxiety, the healthcare anxiety. All of these anxieties manifest in people. I mean, they really do. That's one of the reasons why people who make less money tend to live not as long, because the level of anxiety and woes of what happens if tomorrow my car breaks down, that's 10 years old, and I can't get another one and go to work. The stakes are so much higher.
Mm-hmm.
I
know. Well, and I think that, I think there is a reason why you see a lot of the wealthier people like Ben Shapiro condemning really heavily anyone who's not mourning the CEO.
100%.
Because Ben Shapiro is a CEO.
Right.
Of his own company, of his own media, whatever.
Right.
And if what was that quote? There was a quote that was it's from a movie. I heard it on a sound on a TikTok about this, but it was if the ants find out that there's more of them,
right?
If they realize how many more, if we let one ant stand up, the millions of other ants will think they can stand up.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's from A Bug's Life.
Yes.
And so
yes, with
the,
Hopper.
The bad thing is the top 1% own a majority of the wealth, but also they're only 1%
yes.
of the people.
Yes. Have you ever seen this video? This is actually a great video that's worth sharing. Just because we do not think about how big these numbers are, like the actual disparity in levels of wealth. Have you ever seen the rice video?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to play it for you. If you're listening on podcasts, hang in there. Maybe head over to YouTube for a second, but check this out. So, thanks. Can I play this from the top? Okay. So this is a guy. Just follow along, April. Check this out.
Okay. The scale of $1 billion is really crazy. So let's say 1 grain of rice is equivalent to 100K, and 10 grains of rice would be then 1 million. Well, how much is $1 billion? So my Saturday night consisted of counting 10,000 grains of rice one by one, just to show you guys how much $1 billion is. Of course I filmed it, and of course I time-lapsed it, and this is playing at, I don't even know, God knows how fast it's playing at, but
12 hours.
So now I'm proud to present to you the results. That is $1 billion.
That's $1 billion.
Where each grain of rice is worth 100K. Look how much rice this is, guys. That's crazy. I just bought you like a Lamborghini right here, and I didn't even notice it was gone. Here's a $5 million house in California, and oh look, I still have all this money. If you guys like that content, please follow me.
Okay, so that's a great visual of how much, not 10 billion. Or Elon Musk, what's he worth? Like $400 billion? That's just $1 billion. Where 1 grain of rice equals $100,000. That's more money than most people make in any given year.
There's honestly,
it's insane,
not to be
April.
a communist, but there's really no need for anybody to be a billionaire. Nobody needs that much money.
It's unreal. And the argument becomes, well, he worked harder. How much harder? How do you work 1 billion times harder in the same amount of time that we all have? What is Elon Musk actually doing that makes him worth that much money besides exploiting people and taking advantage of people
and buying whole media companies that basically buy himself a presidency?
Right. It is, and again, as Christians, there are so many reasons to critique billionaires. There are so many Christian ethics, both in the scriptures and in the church tradition, that critique people who hoard their wealth while their neighbor outside can't put a jacket on their back. Jesus has something to say to people who are rich about when it comes to entering the kingdom. I think something about how it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. So it's unreal, isn't it, how the Christian perspective in America actually supports billionaires and in the elitist class when Jesus actually taught us the complete opposite. The Bible has themes all throughout of what happens when people exploit the other and gain power and wealth over them. God is on the side of the oppressed, friends. Like, God does take sides. And so I don't know, I just feel like really fired up, I guess, today. I'm just done. I'm done accepting the bullshit excuses, especially from Christians, that people like Elon Musk are somehow great people to have in our government, that people like Trump, who are also claimed anyway, billionaires, are great people to have in our government. Somehow they're fighting for the little man. They're draining the swamp. You have been duped. You have been lied to. You have been exploited. And again, take the log out of your own eye. Stop worrying about your transgender neighbor and look at the people who are literally manipulating you into thinking that the drag queen is the problem and not the billionaire who's Donald Trump's right-hand man. And right. I'm sorry. I'm so ranty. I'm so sorry.
No, I think it's so true. And I honestly, I have a little bit of hope from this whole ordeal in that maybe we're starting to realize that the right's starting to realize that the left doesn't, like, we're not demonic and hateful, and we aren't just out to like take their jobs, and we don't want immigrants coming in and taking their jobs. And like that's, we just want equity for all people, including them.
Yes.
And here's the thing. I do think if Trump ends up doing what he says he's going to do, it's going to be detrimental to a lot of the people that supported Trump economically.
100%.
Like, it's not going to save. And so maybe in the biggest plot twist, we all end up hating Trump after the next few years, and it unites us all.
Yes, I would love that. Do you want to give us some good news?
Yes, let's do some good news,
and then we'll wrap this up. We'll wrap the show up.
So Fox News is owned by Rupert Murdoch, and they also own the Wall Street Journal. They own, I think, the New York Post. Like, it's Rupert Murdoch. It's an empire. And
Another
if you've ever
billionaire.
watched this show, Yeah, another billionaire. If you ever have watched the show Succession, have you seen that show?
I have not. I haven't seen it.
Okay, it's great, but I think it was loosely based on the Murdoch family because it's about a patriarch leader of a giant media conglomerate and deciding who he's going to pass it on to his children. It's a whole thing. And ironically, this whole kind of legal war with the Murdoch family, it's said in the New York Times article that it started in April 2023 when they watched the HBO drama Succession, where the patriarch of the family dies, leaving his family and business in chaos, and that the episode prompted one of his daughters, who is a representative to the trust, to write a succession memo that intended to help avoid this real life just fight post death.
Okay.
So basically,
yeah, what
Rupert
are we fighting
Murdoch,
over? I'm so curious.
They are fighting over the who gets left the media, the business, right?
Fox
so
News?
in Rupert Murdoch's trust, yes, including Fox News,
Okay.
it has basically he has 4 children. He has in his current trust leaving the business and all of his money equally between all 4 children. So each child has an equal say in the future of Fox News,
25%,
which is what
25%,
Yes.
25%, 25%.
and including like votes on the board, including like voting on who, what's going to happen with the company. So, and he purposely put in there that like no one could change it. He has one provision in there that he could take it to court to change the trust if he believed that the financial benefit of the company was in jeopardy and he needed to change it. So basically he's got 4 children, Lachlan, James, Elizabeth, and Prudence. Lachlan is currently over Fox News. Rupert's still alive. He's 93. He has given control over to Lachlan. Lachlan is one of the main reasons that Fox News took such a hard right and has become this right-wing kind of propaganda machine because it's been very financially beneficial for them, minus the giant lawsuit over the whole the election was stolen Dominion situation. But regardless, Rupert Murdoch wants Fox News to stay right-wing. And so he petitioned the court to change his trust because 2 of his other kids, one of them's kind of been more indifferent on it, but 2 of his kids are not right-wing. They don't lean, I don't know if they're left, but they're definitely not right-wing. And they have been upset at how right-wing Fox News has become. They don't like how it's become this propaganda machine. They want to get it to go back to being a more moderate news organization that could be fair and balanced, which was how Fox News initially marketed themselves as. Like their tagline used to be fair and balanced. Like they used to have Hannity and Combs.
Right.
Combs was a Democrat,
I remember back in the day. I know.
Right.
Fair and balanced.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it was still left, or it was still right-leaning for
Definitely.
sure. But they at least tried to play both sides. Where now,
Right.
like, that's out the window. It is straight right-wing propaganda.
I mean, it launched Tucker Carlson like into the right-wing stratosphere.
Right. They became basically an additional spokesperson for Trump.
100%.
Trump was very influential in what Fox News aired or did not air. So all that to say, he petitioned the court. This started over the summer, and a judge this week ruled against Rupert Murdoch, said he could not change his family's trust. And so it is now, for now, it's still going to all 4 children equally. So it's not the final thing. They can still appeal, they said that they're going to. But it's looking like he's not going to get his way, and it's still going to go to all 4 children, which means that Fox News, at least, could stop being the huge right-wing, propaganda machine that it's become.
Right.
And that could really have a positive impact on society if they actually start reporting some fair and balanced news.
Yes.
So
and
that's where we are.
According to this article from, I think it's AP, in his 96-page opinion, Nevada Probate Commissioner Edmund Gorman said of the Second Judicial District Court, that they characterized the plan to change the trust as a, quote, carefully crafted charade to permanently cement Lachlan Murdoch's executive roles inside the empire, regardless of the impact such control would have over the companies or the beneficiaries of the family trust. So essentially, they were like, yeah, this is nonsense. We see what you're doing, and no, you can't do it. So again, they're going to appeal for sure, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, this could have, I mean, we don't know for sure, but it could have some pretty big impacts on Fox News and how they do their business when Murdoch passes away.
Yeah, which he's 93. So
that could happen at any moment.
It could happen at any
It's
moment.
It's what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all going to be there one day. So
yeah, and so, but anyway,
yeah.
but this is a good thing. We
Yes,
don't want
this is a good
Lachlan to have control over it because it's just going to be business as usual. And Lachlan is currently over it. Murdoch,
goodness.
Rupert retired, gave it down to him, but now, yeah. So anyway, I think that's actually really good news because Fox News has had such a huge impact on the last few elections and just the news cycle and the information that people consume and really just the disinformation campaign that has been pushed even around COVID, vaccine, and the election fraud and all of these things. Like if Fox News actually becomes a more, trustworthy news source, which is kind of hard to think about. But that could be a very, very good thing.
Well, the other interesting thing too is that they dominate the cable news ratings. Like, I'm not sure if you saw MSNBC, CNN have seen steep drop-offs. Even after every election, news always sees a drop-off, but they've seen even steeper than usual drop-offs. I mean, to the point where it's like maybe 250,000 people tuning in to CNN or MSNBC, which, by the way, when you're a billion-dollar company, not really a great ROI. And meanwhile, Fox News is like millions of viewers. So, yeah, this could have a huge impact because Fox News is the juggernaut cable news network right now.
Yeah. So anyway, some good news for the recap.
Well, I'm going to bring us back down to bad news. It's not necessarily bad news. Next week, I'm going to be in Phoenix, Arizona at America Fest.
Oh, going into the Lions Den.
So I'm not sure if we're going to have a recap next week. Me and April are still kind of working through the logistics of it. But if I don't, I'll still kind of come back with a little kind of update here. But yeah, me and my executive assistant, we are traveling to Phoenix to kind of get the vibe of how they're feeling with the Trump win. I got to say, the past 2 years I've always kind of looked forward to going because it gives me a great feeling of like what's going on. It makes for great content. I make some good connections that kind of keep me in the know of what's going on behind the scenes. This year, though, it's just going to be, I know, rubbing it in my face and so much like we're unstoppable. We've defeated the woke left. And I'm dreading hearing it all day and all night.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be... can we just talk about the sore winner aspect of a lot of these right-wing people? Like I'm still getting comments. Like I'll post something that's not even about Donald Trump. And I've got someone being like, Trump won, you're stupid.
It's a beautiful day. Good morning, everyone. Trump won, you suck, liberal. Like, okay.
I know. They're like, I love seeing your liberal tears. I'm like, I'm not crying. What are you talking about?
They are sore winners and sore losers. I mean,
I know. It's got to be exhausting to just be sore all the time.
I saw on Twitter, I guess that the Times Magazine was considering who their person of the year is going to be, and there was a rumor that it might have been Harris. And people on X were all like, oh, of course they would. They're liberal establishment. They're so biased. And it turns out that most likely Trump will be Time Person of the Year, and you bet your ass that we're going to see the same people. Oh, what a great decision by Time Magazine. I mean, they really understand the will of the people. Like these folks are, again, there is just so little.
Was it last year that Taylor Swift was Time Person of the Year?
Probably.
I feel like that was recently, and I saw so many right-wing people being like, Time sucks. Like, why Taylor Swift?
Because
she's like holding her hat.
It's like when they talk about how Hollywood is so bad and so evil, and then they find one conservative in Hollywood, and they're like, oh my God, this person's amazing, doing unbelievable work in Hollywood. It's like, wait, well, which is it? Like, is Hollywood terrible? Or is it when you find someone who has your political views, suddenly Hollywood's great? Like what? Again, you're not going to find a standard here. The only standard you're going to find is whatever benefits us. That's how this space works, so... Anyway, I've been very ranty today. I apologize for being ranty. I just had so much to say about the wealth thing. It's been grinding my gears for years now. Like I've seen this more and more. I've been more and more convinced of it. And so I kind of let it all out today. Thank you, April, for letting me vent. I appreciate that.
Of course. Well, I do want to say, if we miss next week, the next week is Christmas.
No.
So maybe, are we off a couple weeks, perhaps, possibly?
We will keep you posted via the YouTube community tab and, of course, the social media. Also, me and you can always record something very small for the podcast people and just kind of update them. So we're working through the next couple of weeks. I know it's holidays. I know we're all kind of busy, but I know a lot of you travel, and I know that our podcast really helps you kind of get through the holidays. So I don't want to leave you high and dry, friends. So we're working on it.
Yeah. Well, if you don't hear from me, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Like I'm killing you off.
All the things.
Well, it was real. It was. I appreciated my
time. It was the
time.
good times and it was the bad times.
Have a great weekend, friends. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll come back here potentially next week with some more recap news. See ya.
Bye.